Mr.
Yes.
Enwegbara, if I may come in here, you talked about privatization, but before the private, or while we're privatizing, you talked about it being a good thing that it happened when it did. But what about the financial institutions and the policies guiding the financial institutions? Are they also restructured to move forward, to move us forward, instead of going the same way? You're privatizing the power sector, but the financial side of it, you're not really looking at it. Are things in order on that side?
You see, when you say the restructuring of the financial side, you have to be specific, because I don't understand what you mean by restructuring. All I know is that when the private owners inherited the power sector from the government, they discovered that the transmission infrastructure had been moribund. So even if they generate, they cannot transmit. And because they cannot transmit to the end users, to the distributors, then the power gets lost and they lose. So as a result, government has intervened with the 213 billion. That's the CBN intervened with 213 billion in order to support these private owners, in order to address the deficiencies in the transmission and also in the pipeline and the state of these power sectors, power plants before they inherited them. So I think that it is up to the private owners to source their funding. And I will assure you, the problem of this country is security. Because I remember in 2010, when I was in China and talking to some Chinese investors, they told me that they could not believe Nigeria as the #1 investment destination. Shouldn't be what it is. The problem is, do we guarantee security? Do we guarantee safety of goods and services and human beings so that the foreigners can come and invest in Nigeria? As soon as we have it right, I will assure you that the private owners of powers will go all over the world and source their funding. I have been saying that this government should have also invested in power by calling foreign investors and giving them some incentives. Besides incentives, we can borrow externally in order to fix power, because power is a game changer. If we can produce about 100,000 megawatts within the next 10 years, we will be able to double our GDP. Because power will free a lot, increasing power will free a lot of problems in the economy. That is the small businesses that cannot function, that cannot be profitable, and cannot actually produce, because at the end of the day, power cost eats deep into their cost. So I believe that power privatization is the greatest thing we have done. I'm happy, because I was thinking that the government would have handed this power
I beg your pardon,
to their friends. But I discovered, because it was transparent and it was open in a way that nobody will say it was given to friends of government. So that's what makes me happy. Mr. Boyo should be there with the country. I agree with him that the country would have moved faster. But remember that China, we are talking today, by 1978, China started getting it right. But it took China till 1990
can you
to
hear
crack
me?
it economy.
Can you hear me, Odilim?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, pardon me butting in. We have to manage our time. Quickly, can you tell us, from the beginning of the year, a lot of companies refused to spend money. And they would say to you, after the elections. And then the elections were postponed from February to end of March and April. In what way has this affected the economy in the light of many companies refusing to spend because they're waiting for the outcome of the elections?
Okay, what you're asking me now, the effect, immediate effect. The immediate effect is that some people who are risk averse have gone out and sit on the fence and watch. Those who like risk taking are continuing in the business of risk taking. And of course, you have to agree that this economy is actually domestic driven, it's not foreign driven. So what I'm saying is that it's better we get it right and lose what we are losing between January and today, than not to get it right and lose it for the next 4 years. So I do not bother myself with the foreign investors or local investors who have to wait until the election. That's their decision. But what we shall be thinking about, are we going to get it right so that this country will be in the firm direction and all of us will benefit in a better economy.
Okay, so you're saying it doesn't affect the economy in any way?
No, it must affect, but they always give and take. It affects the economy, but the effect on the economy, when you weigh it with the benefit that we derive as a result of a better election, you will see that the cost is less than the benefit. In fact, it will be driven to zero over a period of time.
Okay, let me bring that question into the studio to Mr. Boyo. Do you think that people, well, investors are spending like they should because of the elections coming? Or are a lot of them holding back and waiting for the outcome?
I think you have to be very clear in your mind in terms of priorities and in terms of impact, okay? The impact of the electioneering campaign is insignificant compared to the impact of devaluation on the economy. So I'm not saying that the spending, the activity, even the kind of investors that you're talking about who are holding back and things like that, who are these investors? They're investors who are looking out and saying, will Nigeria be a secure place? Not primarily in terms of coming and putting physical infrastructure business, but in terms of how much money can I make from Nigeria's government that is busy borrowing at 15, 16, 17%, when I can borrow at 1 or 2% from my country, and indeed I can even borrow from those banks in which Nigeria keeps its reserves at 2 or 3%, and come back and lend the money to the same Nigerian government at 15, 16, 17%. Those are the areas that are mainly critical to the proper operation of the economy, not the 5 weeks, 6 weeks issues about delayed election. The people who are foreign direct investors who truly believe in this economy are not the people who are going to buy your treasury bills at 12, 14, 13%, or your bonds at 17% or thereabouts, okay? Those are speculators. Those are the people who have been moving their money out very, very quickly. The people who have built factories here, it's not possible for them to do so very, very quickly. But these other ones who see this house of drama where government is borrowing at 17% money that it doesn't need, they are very happy to come here. But they will say, let us watch this inflation, this devaluation thing might wipe out maybe the 17% we thought we were making. These are the decisions that are being made at the moment, not what you're thinking about that, because of elections, some people are holding up, we won't spend, we won't spend. The real investors don't think that way. The speculative investors are doing the same.
Okay, Mr. Boyo, we're out of time. So in closing, what's your take? Would the economy be better positioned, more stable after the elections?
It's irrelevant whether it's not the party that comes in, because the mindset is one of 1% against 99%. How can we continue, to feed the 1% so that they can live very gorgeously while the 99% can ravage in poverty? Those are the issues. It's not which party comes in, things would change, because no party would come in and make it possible for the banks not to make their 600 billion naira profit. If that party comes in, it's going to go out very soon. No party is going to come in and make sure, okay, that there is no subsidy element in the petroleum thing, because that's where they are chopping. No party is going to come in and make sure that there's no mopping up of excess liquidity and so on and so forth. No party is going to come in and even make sure that the naira is stronger, because if the naira is stronger, it's not good for the rich, but it's good for the poor. They wouldn't do this. So it's neither APC or PDP kind of thing. It's a clique. These guys are out to finish us. No, truly. Unless we tell them that we are wise to up the tricks, we are not going to be fooled anymore. We are not going to allow you to give money to the banks and then borrow it back at 10, 12, 13% and tell us that you are managing the economy properly. We are not going to sit around and ensure that you have a naira that is killing Nigerians in terms of its exchange rate, because the naira devaluation is a way to make you poorer. There's no doubt about it. Understand it. And it's not ending where it is at 200 and something. So long as you have this disparity of so much naira in the system, deliberately created by the central bank, who now comes to auction dollars in the market, and they say it's a ruse to make sure that we remain poor.
All right, Mr. Enwegbara, your closing statement.
Very carefully. I think at the end of the day, we have to agree that he is right, that our monetary policy has been killing this country. I agree with him. I've written extensively about it. Even I oppose them, MFLS confirmation, because the banks have taken over the economy. And when you hand the central banking to a commercial banker, you should expect what we're expecting now. But now, having said that, I will say I was one of the people who supported devaluation. The basis of my support of devaluation is this. In 2008, 2009, when there was global financial meltdown, America, from then till 2013, used quantitative easing to devalue the dollar. The Chinese have been devaluing their currency constantly. The problem with devaluation is if we are import dependent, and if you do not impose high tariffs on imported goods. If you devalue your goods, if you devalue your currency, you make importation very, very expensive. And you make it easier for those who used to dump goods in your country to relocate their factories to your country and then take advantage of the cheapness of labor and the other sources of production. So I will say that whenever the new government comes in, we have to restructure our monetary policy. We have to actually make government to be involved, actively involved in the decision-making of the central banking and, of course, our monetary policy. So that if we have to devalue our currency, we devalue it in a way that is going to benefit Nigerians. Right. And when we are devaluing, we are going to impose high tariffs on imported goods.
All right, thank you.
We're going to make sure that the cost of doing business in Nigeria is lower by increasing infrastructure, by investing in infrastructure, so that at the end of the day, we produce most of the things we consume. And if we produce most of the things we consume, inflation will be low.
Thank you very much. Mr. Odilim Enwegbara, a financial analyst, joined us from our Abuja studios, and an economist, Harry Boyo, joined us here in Lagos. Thank you, gentlemen. We've been speaking about the 2015 elections and the effects on the Nigerian economy, but we'll be back shortly for another matter. Join us again.